It is yet another blow to Canada's auto sector. Stellantis announced it's moving the production of its Jeep model from Brampton, Ontario to Illinois. Washington has been pushing automakers to bring production back to the U.S. Let's get a reaction from Flavio Volpe, President, Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. Flavio, Stellantis says it has plans for the Brampton, Ontario plant. Have they shared those plans at all?
Well, they haven't shared them with suppliers, and suppliers found out about this on the news like everybody else. That's dozens of Canadian companies with hundreds of millions of dollars of capital at risk here that employ, in addition to the 3,000 workers at the plant that found out on a robocall yesterday, employ about 9,000, 10,000 in the supply chain. And so, no, we don't know. And a plan is not a car. And they found $13 billion to invest in plants all over the U.S. In an announcement yesterday, and $600 million to move the Compass from here to Belvedere, Illinois. So I'm hoping that plan is a car and not some wind-down transition. And I said as much as the federal government, who I like their response here. Let's be tough. They have a contract.
We'll talk to a little bit more about that plan by the government, or at least the idea of suing Stellantis. As you mentioned, 3,000 people work out the Brampton plant directly. They've already been laid off for some time. So this was a plant that was already in some sort of transition?
Well, they're paying those workers. So they may be laid off, but they're at home on a payroll with the promise that, hey, by the way, you've been making stuff here for 62 years. Some of you have been here for decades on your own, and some of you are second and third generation here. Same with suppliers. There's some suppliers at that plant from 62 years ago. And they said, stay tuned. We've got a 3-row electric SUV. Then Donald Trump got elected and got rid of a purchase incentive. So we're not going to make electric SUVs anymore, but we're going to make the Jeep Compass. They kicked off suppliers, meaning like, hey, here's the green light. Start retooling for that. As we retool, we're going to be making cars next year. We're going to bring everybody back. So it's not, there's a lot of people saying, well, if the people are already at home, they've already transitioned. No, they haven't. And these are wages, $45 plus pension benefits that are jobs that people hang around for, that they pay mortgages and they feed families and they make the most advanced manufacturing products in the world. It wasn't that long ago, January 2024, where it was making the most popular car in its segment, a vehicle that saved, in many ways, the Daimler Chrysler FCA Stellantis group. And so it's disrespectful in the way in which that they dealt with their own workers. No less respect for suppliers to the plant and to the Canadian taxpayers who, you've had me on the show many times talking about a wonderful collection of investments by Stellantis in Windsor for a battery plant and an assembly plant, as well as an R&D center. But all of that, we said, look, you've got to wrap Brampton into that or we're not on. And so they've bent to Donald Trump, in 9 months. When Canadians have supported them in Brampton for 62 years.
Yeah. Let's talk about what Ottawa has the goal of doing, if not the goal of doing, at least is looking into. The industry minister is threatening legal action. Has something like that ever been pursued before?
No. And, look, when the government got into these multi-billion-dollar agreements with Stellantis and other automakers a couple of years ago, we talked about different terms, and that the terms are, look, if we're going to subsidize the transition to electrification, it's going to be subsidizing production. You make stuff, you come back and get a break. But they also helped set up a $5 billion battery plant and retooling the Windsor assembly plant and a whole bunch of things. I spoke to the industry minister this morning. She's confident that the federal government's clause in their terms and conditions in this agreement mean that Stellantis is responsible to the government and by extension to the Canadian taxpayer and the rest of the stakeholders here to make good. And we could talk about transition all we want. Nobody wants transition, and the part suppliers have never said fund us directly either. All we said was make sure there's car production here. And when there's car production here, there's enough to go around for everybody. In this case, 12,000 workers between the assembly plant and the suppliers. And somebody said to me earlier this morning, well, those suppliers, workers are making product now. Do those jobs exist? Where do you think these people went? Nobody
Yeah.
wants to let go of staff. You pay, you keep them. They're great people, and they expect work.
As you know, they are adding a third shift to the Windsor plant. This is something that has been brought up as an offset. Can any of the workers from Brampton be moved there? Is that something that's feasible?
Well, I mean, so 2 weeks ago they said, "Look, we're adding a third shift in Windsor. Everybody in Windsor should be happy." Today they said, "By the way, hold on. We're going to send people from Brampton." And what we're saying to people in Brampton who have a family in Brampton and have a life in Brampton, look, if you get up and move 3.5 hours down the highway, you're going to have the job that we promised you over here. Uh, that's PR, and it's pretty flimsy.
We talked a little bit about what action Ottawa could take. Are there any other stakeholders, as you mentioned, that you see or have heard about taking action? And do you think it's a done deal? Do you think this action will actually change minds?
You know, not too long ago, another automaker in Ontario closed the plant in 2018. Said there's no more product here, there's no more plant here. And the governments, both levels of government, but specifically the federal government, went in on them and said, "You know what? You've been here 120 years. We put a lot of money into you. That's not good enough for us." And that plant is now on 2 shifts, making one of the most popular vehicle in the U.S. and in Canada. And so it can be done. It doesn't have to be over. But now is not the time for flimsy promises to say, "Hey, well, just hold on, we're going to let you know, patience for a year." No, that's when the temperature's down. That's when the Canada-U.S. fight is over and we've won or lost it. Now's the time. You got an option, and you found $13 billion yesterday, by the way. Then find a car. And maybe it's a plant that's running on 3 shifts in the U.S. Find a shift, send it up here.
Flavio Volpe, President, Automotive Parts Manufacturers Association. Thanks for your time, sir.